Book in three, two, one. Going live on the podcast in three, two, one.
Recording in progress.
Hello, everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don. And if you're listening to this, you can only be here for one reason. It's a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, brought to you each and every week by ComicBookClique.com. And as always, I am never alone. I am joined for the very last time this year by the astonishing, the magnificent, the downright uncanny A-Rob the Marvel God. A-Rob, let them hear you.
Yo, what's good, everybody out there in comic book land? How's everyone feeling? Merry Christmas.
You know what I'm feeling? I'm feeling like this year came and freaking went, bro.
It really did, honestly. I can still remember Thanksgiving, Independence Day, but like I can blink, remember the beginning of the new year, and it's already about to be the new year. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, it's so things have gone off in the clip. We're literally a week away from this entire year to being gone. 2025 around the corner. I'm glad that we've all gotten here this far with our health, mental states doing well. But 2024 had some of the best and worst things to come to comic books and comic book media. So I
Ooh, man.
yeah, I thought, to be gracious, to be grateful, the best way to do something like that, right, is to go back and look and count your blessings and see, what you liked and what you didn't like about the past year. I will tell you this: there's way more I liked about the past year than I didn't like. I can say that first and foremost. A little bit feeling a little bit positive, but it's not to say that this year did not have its share of crap. What I'll say is what I'll
Better words. It was a very turbulent year.
yeah.
Marvel only dropped one Marvel movie, I suppose, like the year before they dropped like two, the year before that they dropped three. Like it's a lot of ups and downs this year, but they only dropped one. And it was probably one of the best movies they ever made.
Yeah, that's true. Marvel was firing on all cylinders last year. 2023 was a really rough year for the franchise, right? All that variety article stuff and the retooling, the stuff with Kang, um, and how all that came about. But if you're talking about some of the worst stuff to come out this year, I kind of got to give the crown to the Sony Spider Verse, bro.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Y'all get all the flowers. Y'all get the Razzie Awards. Y'all get all of it.
It this kind of reminds me of the same year that they announced that the DCEU was no longer a thing. And that was the same year that Blue Beetle came out, Shazam and Aquaman. And
Oh
it
man, yeah.
yeah, and it's not to say like any of those were downright terrible, but it was just like the people around were just not excited about this universe anymore or these characters anymore. What really disappointed
I
you
did feel like that.
what really disappointed you about those three films? What of those three films do you think was the most disappointing?
What's most disappointing was, well, like you said, it's like the people around the films weren't excited about it. I feel like they had an inside track that this wasn't going to go anywhere because literally after Black Adam ended, they fired Henry Cavill and just hired James Gunn and shut down everything that was related to Zack Snyder's universe. Like, I enjoyed Blue Beetle. Aquaman 2 was okay because the first one was great, like visually, acting, the choreography. And Shazam is Shazam. You can only do so much as an adult playing a kid. Like it make that believable, you know.
100%.
But it's just sad that they to see a good franchise die. But something is going to be reborn in its place, probably better.
Yeah, yeah. I remember Madam Web out of those three was the one that really was like, why are they making this? Because Venom, okay, they already made two and they were semi-successful. Craven, whatever, at least he's a character. Madam Web, there was not a lot known about that character, so they really had to kind of swing for the fences for that film for the rest of this year to mean anything. And I feel like once they struck out on that film, everyone was looking at them sideways. And then when Venom 3 comes out, I don't know. I think the premise and stuff is fun. I just wish it wasn't Venom. Like I feel like it itself, this whole like kind of crazy, um, alien comedy, possession sort of film. But it's not a Venom movie to me. It's not a Eddie Brock movie to me. I don't know who that man is, but
Yeah, yeah, I know. I wholly agree. Like they tried to make Venom their Deadpool in that universe.
yeah.
Seeing the success of Deadpool,
And then
and,
me and you were supposed to be talking about Craven. What did you think about that film?
it, when I think about great premise is just once again, why are we making something Spider-Man related without Spider-Man?
Yeah,
Like the spider scene was cool. Like, oh, there's something spider related in it.
that is the closest thing we'll get to any sort of spider interaction with Craven. It seems, and it sucks because I do. That's the worst thing about this is like I think Tom Hardy's a good actor. I think that Aaron Taylor Johnson is a good actor. I don't know much about Dakota Johnson, but there was other people in there that are seemingly doing well in film. And Sony's just inability to commit, and they're all three of these movies suffer from the same issue, seemingly that they were made and then remade and remade and remade and reshot and re-edited and redubbed to the point that they barely a connect between scenes, and they're just
Yeah,
it's almost like when you write an essay and you get so into the weeds of of like editing and re-editing that at the end you're just like, you know what, I the deadline's here, I just have to kind of put it in, I just have to turn it in. And that's what it feels like with these movies. Like it wasn't going to get better than this, but this is the most that they could do in the time frame, so this is what we're gonna get. And
it's
like
like
there's I just named a couple movies there, and like none of them in my opinion have like a real heartwarming scene or like memorable moment that's gonna be memed, or something people are gonna play back and be like, yo man, listen, that movie wasn't great, but you have to watch the blank scene. There's none of that there. This universe is gonna die without anyone going to the funeral, without anyone paying attention. And that's the saddest part about all of that.
they might get a shout out in Secret Wars, maybe. Who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah. Um, but let's talk about some good. We got X-Men at 97 this year, and
Banger.
boy, what a return to form. This was something I was a little bit hesitant on jumping into because I have
Really?
such an affinity for the OG that sometimes with this stuff I have an ability to be like, you know, I like I like X-Men the animated series. If X-Men 97 sucks, I still have X-Men the animated series. That
Right.
other stuff is for whoever enjoys this next iteration. Um and so that moving forward, I just feel like if it didn't click for me, hopefully it would be somebody's favorite X-Men series. I wasn't trying to be selfish. It didn't have to impress me so long as it made other people happy. And I saw that first episode, and from the first episode on, I think it just really just ramped up in writing, in quality, in emotion. I
Oh yeah,
re-
devotion.
remember it is going to be something I remember for years,
Ooh.
and I point to and I say like, this is peak comic book writing and animation coming together to like do something really really special. Um, Great year for X Men in general. I mean, bouncing back from the whole Krakoa stuff, right? In
Right,
comics.
Fall of X. Ooh, man, Fall of X.
Yeah, talk a little bit about what the X Men have been doing in comics. I've been watching kind of from a distance, but I know we had almost a basic rebirth and a reboot of the entire line, right? From the Ashes event.
Basically the X-Men are starting from the ground up again. They had the rise of X House powers, X of Swords, like a lot of storylines in the past, like what, five? When did the new start? 2019? So like almost 5 years?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, lots of crazy stories coming out, especially with the whole Hellfire Club thing and the Orcus. It's been crazy. But they reshuffled the deck. They dealt the cards out. We have a new Marauders team. We have a new Weapon X team, not Weapon X, X Force team.
Yeah.
We have a new X-Men team.
X
Like,
Factor.
so, X Factor, yeah, we have them too. So like all the cards are dealt. Now we just have to wait for the new hand, like the game to start next year.
Yeah.
Because this everything's gonna change under the new house or the new one rule under Doom.
Yeah.
Like the whole Marvel universe is getting changed. And I can't wait for it. I
It,
can't wait.
it's been really exciting because the X-Men, similar to the Fantastic Four, have been taking a real big back seat
Yeah.
in the last decade, right? Like when they were adamant that they didn't want to promote these guys because Fox owned them, it was getting pretty dark for all of them. And now, roughly 10 years forward, just to see them be held with this much prominence and like little peaks of them showing up in things like What If, I think that stuff is super exciting. We can't
Right.
talk we
Yeah.
can't talk about the X Men without talking about Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh
Um,
man.
the only X Men film, or the only film featuring an X Men to come out this year, the only Marvel film to come out this year. It's been a couple months since it was released into theaters in July. What are your thoughts on it? Have they changed since it dropped?
Man, my thoughts have gotten better about the movie because the Deadpool franchise, it grows more on you as time goes on. Because you just look back at the jokes that he made about James or McAvoy or Stewart. These timelines are so confusing. Like that line's in the first movie that still holds up to today because in the X-Men universe, which timeline are you watching?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, 100%.
And it's like seeing Deadpool and Wolverine today, they still held true to the character. They still held true to the comedy, the fourth wall breaks, and staying true to the character's nature overall. Like Deadpool and Wolverine was one of the best things of 2024 and possibly the decade.
It's interesting because there's still people that are detractors of it. I think in general you can't please everyone.
Mhm.
But this is
Right.
one of the few instances this year, especially in a very divisive election year. This is one of the first things to unite both sides. Like everybody was kind of on board for Deadpool and Wolverine. You had people that were all the way on the outsides. Like some people were like, "Oh, it's not woke enough," and some people were like, "It's too woke," and everyone was like, "Shut up, it's great." And I really like that the fandom came together to sort of defend that sort of film because it had a lot of joy in it. It was really cool to see Hugh Jackman finally put on the yellow and blue. That's a moment people are going to talk about for years, and the ramp up to that, literally
Years.
roughly 25 years of leading to that to get to that point is crazy, absolutely bonkers.
It is. Because I never thought, like, watching the old X Men movies like this, like X Men 1, 2, Last Stand, Days of Future, like, I never thought to see that we would get, like, true to the comics, an actual Wolverine suit. But we got it in Deadpool before any other, like, property or, like, team up or whatever. We got it in Deadpool.
Yeah,
So it just solidifies like it's cool now to make the characters look comic accurate, no matter how goofy they look. You
yeah.
know,
And you come for the Deadpool and you come for the Wolverine, but you stay for the Gambit, for the Elektra, for the Blade that you end up getting later on, for the X-23, like all that, all those sprinkles on top of the Sunday that we were already given by Marvel Studios. It was terrific, and there was a lot of worry about how Marvel would handle this IP in general because it's so blood soaked and because it's so R rated, and they managed to keep all that in line. I thought they really managed to pay that character justice. Um, we also got to talk about Agatha All Along, kind of a sleeper hit
yes,
for the MCU. This was a show
sleeper hit,
I called it.
man. That it blew everyone out the water.
I called it a sleeper
Like
hit because I
every
don't know who was calling that earlier this year. I don't know who was like, you know what, man, the show everyone's gonna be talking about from Marvel is Agatha All Along. You know?
you're right in that regard. Like no one really talked about it. Yeah, you're right. It was slept on, but like it was a good. Like it got good reviews, good like critiques. No one said nothing bad about it. Everyone was tuned into it. Every new episode, at least some people I know online and social media and stuff. Like it was a great show, and then the twists, like in each episode, and you fell in love with the characters. I felt for each character, from Agatha to Alice to fucking to Billy and his parents. Like I felt for all of them.
Yeah.
Like Like great show, great premise. I can't wait for season two.
It was a terrific show. I really like the twist. I think the twist like bumps the show up at least like a full 1 or 2 stars in my opinion, easily, bro, easily.
Yeah.
Catherine Hahn killing it, and I have like such an affinity for Catherine Hahn because I've been watching her for years. I've been watching her be like a side comedic character in things like Step Brothers, in things like
Right.
the Goods, which is not even a great film, but she's in it. That whole era of Adam McKay sort of comedies, she found herself in all of them, and she has amazing comedic timing. But in this, they found a way to add some dramatic flair. Not to say that she was incapable of it, but not many people knew. And I really, really like that. I like on the face of it, it just felt like a really campy, witchy, Halloween themed Marvel show, but it had a lot of
Right.
heart, it had a lot of heart to it. And similar to the remember that, I'm always gonna remember the is it the Lila Lydia? I can't remember.
Uh,
Calderu's episode where she turns the tower upside down. And
oh my god.
that's the time lapse episode. Is always going to like, I'm always going to remember that because I really thought that that was almost a very interesting way to symbolize like declining mental health and dementia, right? Like being in and out
Right.
of time, being somewhere and not really being there, having to be reminded of what you just said or what you're gonna say somewhere else down the line. Um, and the horror of that, like she really played that as she was constantly terrified because she would just pop in and out and not know. People would get mad at her, right? Because she said or did something. She'd be like, "Why are you mad at me? Like you just punched me in the face." It's like, "Oh, I
Like,
didn't remember."
am I kooky or am I crazy?
Yeah, yeah, all that stuff. Like I really liked how they handled that. Down the Witch's Road, I love that they milked that for all of its worth. I love that they came out
Facts.
with 500 different versions of it. That made me sort of laugh.
I
Um,
I love the twist on this song. Like that, like the marketing for it, beautiful. But the deeper meaning behind the song, like, because I thought, because going in, like you said, I thought it was a witchy themed Halloween Disney property. So like, I didn't expect much from it, but
yeah,
it gave me so much, and I appreciate that. And then just like I said, the song, the fact that it's not a summoning song to get to the witch's road, because we know that Billy's the one that made the road, and she didn't
right.
know what the fuck was going on.
Yeah,
Like this.
that's the only thing. That's my like slightest criticism, bro. Like, and it's a very little criticism, is that I thought that we should have known about the scam from the beginning. Um, because I thought my second watch of that show was way better than my first watch because I'm looking for different things. I'm looking for
Right.
people's reactions to events just popping up out of nowhere. And it's so the show is so juicy if you're watching it the second time and are just looking at Agatha react to the world. And like I said in the a review that we did for that, um, there's an instance where they're like, "So what do we do now that we're on the road?" And she's like, "The road will test us in many ways." And it's like she's just making up
just the vaguest shit possible.
just fortune cookie stuff, like just making up general, like it will test us. It's like, okay, I guess. Um, I think if they would have given us a little bit of that up front, we could have been in Agatha's mind, as she is trying to figure this all out. Because ultimately, the big, big, big twist is Billy, but they flipped it. They made Billy the smaller twist, and the bigger twist being the scam. I think they should have gave us
Yeah.
the scam up front and had the Billy thing be the big twist. Oh, it was you, or but maybe they were afraid that it was going to be very similar to WandaVision, right? Which is, I'm stuck in a world. Who's doing this? Oh, it was you. So maybe that was their. Sometimes these people know a bit more about this than I do. Um, I, Marvel continues. We'll continue on the Marvel train here. Um, I have been adoring, absolutely adoring the Absolute Universe or the Ultimate Universe. Sorry, talk about the Absolute Universe in a bit. But I have been adoring the Ultimate Universe, brother. I'm all caught up on all the books: X-Men, Spider-Man,
Nice.
Black Panther, and Ultimates.
Nice.
I know I'm collecting Ultimates issue to issue. I have the May Storm issues of X-Men, where she debuted and where she had her origin story. 'Cause I don't know why, man. I really dig that character. I think that she's gonna be big. So I'm kind of investing in her creation right now. All the Ultimate Spider-Man stuff is amazing. It's amazing to go through
It is.
these first steps with this character again. Ultimate Black Panther, they keep their that's the one that I feel like is most MCU, but they are finding new ways to sort of redefine it. Because I think MCU
Like
is,
revitalize the character. Yeah.
I think the MCU is too MCU for Black Panther to like. They've been having a problem, in my opinion, with Marvel Comics in trying to make that Black Panther the MCU Black Panther. You know, with all the purple
Yeah.
vibranium recoil and the, like the ideas that they sort of went super hard on in the film. And I like the film, but the comic version was different, and I think that this ultimate version, it can borrow from the MCU without having any issues, and then kind of lay new ground. But have you been following this universe? Do you have a favorite title under this universe? The stuff with the Maker and stuff. Oh, and I will say,
Yeah.
I
Yeah. The
I
maker's been
I,
crazy.
I will say this entire love affair. I read the Spider-Man stuff and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I read Ultimate Invasion. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. There is an issue, ladies and gentlemen. It's issue 4 of the Ultimates. That is one of the best things I've ever read this entire year, and it is the origin story of the Ultimate Doctor Doom, Reed Richards, Doctor Doom, the Ultimate Universe, and it is one of the most like heartbreaking, dark, bleak. You just find out how the Maker got Reed Richards to be Doctor Doom in that universe, and it's done it through a series of flashbacks while also kind of telling a story concurrently. And so you have to like it's like broken up into 4 panels, and like let's say all the top panels align chronologically, and all the middle panels align chronologically, and until they get to the end. So you're reading it, and it's just kind of like it looks like it's going up and down as you read it, but it's actually going left to right. If you read them this way, you would get the little pieces of lore that you need, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. And I was like, not only do I need to own that, but I need to now own this series. And I love when a comic series does that to you, right? When you get bit, you get infected, and you
Yeah.
got to
You're
scratch that
hooked.
itch. And it's about collecting this stuff. But tell me about your experience with the Ultimate Universe as somebody who is the Marvel god who has seen reboot after reboot after reboot, right? So many different what ifs and I was gonna say Elseworlds, but you get what I'm saying, like
Variants.
yeah,
Yeah.
variants and stuff like that. Like, what does this new imprint mean to you as a Marvel Comics fan?
It's refreshing. It's comfortable. It's good. It's nice. It's amazing. Like I'm following Spider-Man and X-Men and Ultimates. Like I appreciate it. Like you're adding more lore to the characters. You're giving them fresh new takes. It's the same character, but you've seen them through a different lens.
Yeah,
So like I appreciate the storytelling. And yeah, no, the dude, that Doctor Doom, like oh my god, like just they still find a way to pull at your heartstrings in these stories. And I love that. Like
yeah.
you still feel and care for these characters. Like it's just some really great storytelling, especially what Spider-Man is going through. Like oh my god. Wait, was the eight deaths part of the Ultimate
No,
Universe
no, no,
of
no. That's
Spider-Man? Or was
separate.
that okay?
That's the main line. But what I will say is
Okay.
that one of the things that this does, and it does the same thing with the Absolute Universe that we'll talk about in a bit, is it plays with, like, if you're coming in with no knowledge, the entire trail hasn't been blazed yet. So you can watch them blaze this trail and tell this story with these characters. If you come in with knowledge, they use that knowledge against you. So they will introduce to you to, let's say, a Killmonger, and you're like, oh, Killmonger, he's down. He's here to just beat up Black Panther. And it's like, no, he's a freedom fighter. He's actually on the outskirts of Wakanda. And he's a vigilante on the outskirts of Wakanda. That's a good guy. That is a guy that people respect and see in that light. You understand? So all of a sudden, yeah. So your mind starts to go. Him and Storm are vigilantes, and you could already tell. It's already been theorized. This is all slight spoilers for Ultimate Black Panther, but the one of the things about that is that, and they might be even just like making a commentary on religion, but Black Panther serves a like almost a religious what is that called? Like a overseer, like a
What a prophet, a
yeah,
cause,
like in
a
Aladdin,
religious
who
leader.
Jafar was to the Sultan. He's like a religious sort of
Okay,
like kind of magic.
yeah,
There's a
I know
word
what you're
for it.
talking
There's a
about.
word for it. And I'm dying right now.
Um,
Overseer
uh,
or strategist or something like that. And
like it's a seer or something. But yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
so that person tells T'Challa that T'Challa's with Okoye, that's his queen. That person tells T'Challa like you're gonna meet a woman of light, and together you guys are gonna rule like Wakanda. And so like he meets this woman of light, and she's the girlfriend of Killmonger, and he has a wife. So you already see this collision. You could already see where the cars are gonna crash, and what the next, how Killmonger will end up being a enemy of T'Challa, and how Storm will, end up working her way through this. And it makes you exciting because you think you know the road that it's going to go on. Even now that I say what I said about seeing where the collision starts, but they could just change all that up. You have X-Men, which is known to be an incredibly dynamic series that blew up so big that it becomes intergalactic. And in the Ultimate Universe, it all takes place in a very small Japanese like city, and it's a slow burn, but it's precious. I'm loving this sort of slow burn that's taking place in that universe.
And I love the art style. The Peach, Mama, what is her name?
Momoko,
Momoko. Thank
yeah.
you. Yeah, I love the art style. Fresh new take on like the characters.
I almost want them to be shown that way, even if other artists draw the rest of the book. Like when all these characters come together, I hope that like you have the background of whatever, but the character for whenever they show the X-Men are drawn by Peach Momoko. I can't see them any other way. I can't see these big bright-eyed characters like that badass Cyclops that they got with the eye patch. Like I like all that stuff. I think is really dynamic under Peach's artwork. And it's really hard to put a fresh can of paint on some of these older comic books, and we'll talk about a universe that did it for three characters that are 80 years plus. um but I wanted to sort of finish out the best of Marvel, and again, this is a episode where we're kind of just shooting the thwip about about this stuff. So if we missed anyone's best or worst, please do not get offended. Write in the comments, write to us, let us know what we've missed. But one of the bigger things that was announced here was all the shakeup that happened because of the Kang stuff. They eventually ended up dropping the lawsuit.
Right.
I can't help but think that if they could, I don't know how electric or hot, how much heat Mr. Majors got, but I wouldn't be surprised if they got that in their back pocket, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't be surprised if somehow, some way, one of these post credits is asked us back because they did way too much work, I think, to completely get rid of this stuff. But anyway,
Right.
one of the biggest pieces of news that we have to talk about for 2024, and one of the biggest things that we've ever posted that went all over the world, was the announcement that Robert Downey Jr. is not only returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but is returning to play Doctor Doom. This
Woo!
idea of Secret Wars. It's also been confirmed that Chris Evans is returning for Avengers Doomsday. There's no more Kang Dynasty film. It's now Avengers Doomsday. Um, what do you think of this shakeup? What do you think of this announcement? What do you think of these return of these characters? And why now? Like, why announce it now? Why not sort of like wait for it to kind of get a bit closer? What do you think is going on over there?
They want to build excitement. They want people talking about it. You know, like just speculating, what if in it, making content, just doing the marketing for them essentially. Like it's a smart move. Like it's a great move. It's not out of desperation or anything. Some people may say it is, but like no. Marvel always has a plan. Their plan is literally what it's 2020, like 20 years in advance. They have a roadmap with
Yeah,
several different paths that can get to the main goal. Like, I have faith in him. It's a great move to have Robbie Downey Jr. play Doom because, like, even if he's from the Fantastic Four universe and First Steps, or if he's regular Doom in the main timeline, either way, it's not Tony Stark playing being Doctor Doom. It's Robbie Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom. Like,
yeah,
he's not a variant. He is Doom. that is Doom. I'm just
I
hoping that there's a joke that you kind of look like this one guy that sacrificed himself to save the universe.
right. I have a theory, or what I would like to happen, and obviously, no one's paying me anything, and if they don't do it, I'll be absolutely fine. But I think a lot of people thought that the stuff, especially with the Thunderbolts, was pointing to a Dark Event storyline. Right?
Yeah.
We've done Secret Invasion. Like if we're following the sort of even Marvel 2000s crossover event calendar, we've passed House of M, we've passed Secret Invasion. I feel like I'm missing around that era.
Civil War
Civil
happened.
War,
Infinity
Civil War,
War
Civil War
happened.
is what I was looking for. Civil War has passed.
Ragnarok happened.
So we're around the
Uh,
we're roughly around this Dark Avengers thing. With the Secret Invasion event created a lot of distrust with the Avengers, and then you would have Norman Osborn go ahead and create their Avengers, right? And roughly the lineup for that team is kind of similar to what the Thunderbolts look like in the film that's
yeah.
coming out next year. But what if Marvel does not want the Thunderbolts to be disposable? Because if they were the Dark Avengers, they would eventually have to be beaten and then thus taken off the table, right?
Right.
I would love, I would love if the secret Dark Avengers is this team that will be shown in Avengers Doomsday. If it is
Ooh.
Doom Tony, and let's say Hydra Cap, let's get Ragnarok, the clone, the robot clone Thor, up in this
Yo.
thing. You understand? Let's get the worst of the best team, right? The OG6 Maestro. You understand? Let's get the
Oh
worst.
my
Let's
God.
get the worst of the best
Superior
team.
Superior Iron Man?
Yeah, basically a mix of Superior Iron Man and Infamous Iron Man, right?
Yeah.
And so you get the best of the worst team, and not only do you get to cash in on nostalgia by having them back, even though it's only been not that long ago, but um, there is something about legacy where you cannot take the place of the what you're paying homage to if that thing is still in the way, right? And what better way to usher a new era for Marvel than for the old era to, or for the new era to beat the old era, right? And that's my out of this world
Uh,
sort of idea. I think that's the best way to do this. If the Kang thing is completely off the table, then I say give us our Dark Avengers, but make them a multiversal threat, and then you can do Battle World, and then the Dark Avengers are the sheriffs. The Sheriff Strange and et cetera, so forth. Like that's the world that's controlled by Maestro. That's the world that's controlled by Ragnarok. Or I have a whole army of Ragnaroks. Like he had the Thor or whatever the heck was going on
oh my
in that.
God.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah. You know what's crazy? They are going to introduce the Masters of Evil in Secret Wars, but I have a feeling it's going to be the multiversal version of it.
That'd be so
Like the
cool.
Killmonger wearing the Destroyer armor, the Black Skull wearing the Red Skull wearing the Venom symbiote,
Yeah,
Kid
yeah,
Thanos, like the Dark Phoenix, but Mystique has it, and Berserker Wolverine with the oh my God,
yeah. All of that stuff I feel like
I can see
is
it.
all of that stuff I think is possible, and they're just killing it. It took a year or two to take a knee because they were doing it so fast that you can't change the tire while the car's actively driving on the road. So they did have to take a break, right, to fix that because it was obvious that things were not clicking the way that they wanted it. Something I think that Sony should have taken at least a second to be like, hold on, wait a minute, let's like re-review stuff here. Um,
Right? And they released three movies in 1 year
yeah,
and lost I know they lost over $500 million. I know that for a fact.
I found, I want to say on Amazon Prime, this documentary series that was shown on Vice TV that is the history of the production of the Spider-Man film. And it went on to great lengths to say, and this is something that we posted about, that at one point Marvel was set to sell like 28 characters to Sony for $25 million. Characters like Black
Right? Yeah, I
Panther,
read that.
Spider-Man, Thor, and stuff. They even gave them a book that had a colored book that had each character and how they could best be used to maximize like profits or whatever. And they were like, "Yeah, we don't want none of that. Just go back and tell them we'll pay 7 million for Spider-Man."
Right? They was like, no, we're good. No Black Panther. No
Or
Avengers.
none of
Or
those guys.
no,
They would
no Doctor
eventually
Strange.
just shop those guys other places. Fox for the most part, you know. Fox would end
Yeah.
up getting so many characters from the bankruptcy of Marvel. I also found out, and check this out. This is something that will you something will click for you as something that makes sense. But Sony right now, like one of the things that is killing the game is Marvel's Spider-Man, right? And it's made so much money off of it, and they literally sell custom consoles just for it, right? And I feel like those brands are so synonymous. But the same guy that went over to Sony and was like, "Hey, listen, you got to take this deal, 28 guys for $25 million," and they were like, "No, go back and do the thing for 10 million." He went to PlayStation when PlayStation was first kind of starting and was like, "Hey, listen, we're making a Spider-Man movie. You need and want the rights to the video game for that, so that you can go ahead and make Spider-Man games because this is gonna blow up. The movie's gonna blow up, the character's gonna blow up, and you're gonna want rights for the games." Well, similar to the Marvel deal, they were like, "Yeah, nah, we don't want the rights."
Wow.
Who ends up buying the rights for Spider-Man games? Activision. If you remember any of the early Spider-Man games that you played, they were all
Holy
Activision.
crap.
Sony did not care. They when quite literally presented with buckets of money, this studio just doesn't, it can't get right. And Spider-Man, the franchise that we know, may be great, but who knows how much greater it would have been in the hands of anyone who could have seen the value in it when it was first presented, as opposed to constantly being convinced that this is something that you need to do. So yeah, they're not really good at placing bets over there. What I was saying. And if I was a betting man, I would have thought I would have liked Umbrella Academy season 4 more.
Right? Umbrella Academy kind of fell off for me. Like, it's because, like, I read the comics and it detracted a lot from the comics. It took a lot from the comics. So I had a mixed bag of feelings about the show for real. The
Yeah.
first season hit, but like after that, it was just, man, where are y'all going with this?
This fourth season was so weird. It was less episodes than normal. I want to say it got knocked down 2 episodes less, roughly around that time. They do an absolutely repulsive storyline with Lila and Five. Remember?
Wow.
That was not. No one was liking that, and the whole thing kind of rushed to the end. And it's one of those things where I think a bad film or season of television is bad when you can see like the tropes, right? Like, okay,
Mm.
this is Umbrella Academy, so what are we gonna do? We're gonna bring them all together in the beginning. We're gonna make them fight over something very superfluous. We're going to break them up. We're gonna spend individual episodes on them, and then we will bring them together for the ending. And when you can see that, and you can see that that's the only playbook they've ever played, like let's just go back to the same play. Like let's just do that again. It really takes the heart out, in my opinion. And I'm somebody who wanted Umbrella Academy to succeed. I thought the first season like really blew me out of the water. The second one I was a bit more patient with. Third, I was looking at it side-eyed a little bit. But I did like the Sparrow Academy. I thought that was kind of fun. Um,
All right.
and then this one, it just, as the ending just felt rushed. Again, it felt very similar to a Sony film. It felt like we just need to get this out. Let's just get it across the finish line, and then this is kind of how that feels. Um, Whole host of actors in there I want to see in the future. Klaus, the actor who plays Klaus, is dying for a comic book role, bro. But another comic
Man.
book role. Like he would absolutely kill anything. And I keep saying he needs to be in the Jack Sparrow prequel. I was like, put that man
Hey.
in some pirate gear and have him walk around drunk, and you got your Jack Sparrow.
Or if he knows a good German accent, let him be Nightcrawler in the new X-Men universe.
He would be he
If
has the
they're
body type. He'd be such a cool Nightcrawler.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm really digging. Or that remember Ulysses? Ulysses who
Oh
showed
yeah.
up and then he got all the powers and he's like, you know what? I am a god now. I am leaving. Thank you for fighting over my predictions. I'm over all of this. I am now going to where the gods live. Like, thank you, bro. Good work there. So yeah, not really loving Umbrella Academy season 4. Um, boy oh
Must say, you know
boy,
who season 4 who did hit?
who's?
Superman and Lois.
Yes, it did. I just saw that finale. Less than a week ago today. It took me a very long time because that show means a lot to me. It's the very first show I ever reacted to. And I reacted to it when there wasn't a lot of people talking about the show. Not to say it wasn't great, but this show was a very niche show considering it was a spinoff of a spinoff of a universe that doesn't exist anymore. And it is literally the last of it, right? So
Yeah.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'll get to it when I get to it. I don't have to worry about major spoilers because people aren't talking about it like that. But this show means and meant so much to me as somebody who was trying to wrap my mind around who Superman is. It just really it hit in so many ways. I think a lot of comic book properties. This is gonna sound crazy until you think about it, but I feel like almost 50% of a good comic book movie is score. I think
Oh
it's the
yeah. Nowadays, not even nowadays. It's just in general.
I
Yeah.
think in
No, a
general, when you
score,
think about it, yeah,
the theme.
people may not have that on their list, but any banging comic book movie that you can remember had an amazing score and or an amazing theme for that character that would hit, and you'd be
Facts.
like, oh yeah, damn. It's the one piece missing from comic book reading. So if you could transfer all the stuff to screen, that's fine. But what music is gonna make you feel, those moments? And Superman and Lois has an amazing uh, musical composer. Has an amazing score. Barely has a theme song. The show barely. I just the title card comes up and makes like a couple like horns and stuff, and then it cuts out. But when it wanted to be beautiful, when it wanted to be vulnerable, when it wanted to be tough, it was all there. I shed some tears definitely at the ending of that. Just it was such a perfect encapsulation of who that character is, and I will take you a step further. You know, a lot of why Superman and Lois had to go is because of James Gunn's Superman, and if we're talking
Right.
about best and worst, one of the biggest trailers of the year dropped literally a week ago, in the Superman trailer, and I
Yeah.
thought that was some amazing stuff. I'm really, really
It,
excited about that. Like none of the
it,
criticisms to me ring true as somebody who knows not only Superman but Superman in the comics and DC comics. Like everyone's like they're going too far, introducing too many characters. No, bro. Let me tell you something. DC has one of the most stacked decks of characters. It's the reason why they worked for this long. But DC media has none of these people on the roster. We've been picking the same teams forever. It's just been Batman and
right.
Superman. Wonder Woman just
There are
joined.
how many Batman and animated Superman animated movies? Like
Think
dozens.
think of the Bat family, right? The Bat family of supporting characters in Batman. How many of them have been done in live action film? One.
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 Yeah. Oh no.
Bravo.
Two. Oh,
Oh,
there's
and and
two
and 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 the Batgirl from Alicia
Bat
Silverstone.
nipples.
Alicia
Right. Bat
Silverstone.
nipples. The
Um,
George Clooney
and
shits.
even then, it wasn't Barbara Pennyworth. It was Barbara. I mean, it wasn't Barbara Gordon. It was Barbara Pennyworth.
Right.
It was like,
Damn.
so you can't do Killing Joke without the Bat family. You can't do Under the Red Hood without the Bat family. You can't do half of the great stories that Batman has without the Bat family. So if you're not willing to build the world, you can't tell these stories. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of Superman versus the Elite sprinkled into, where you have a government issued team, perhaps consisting of the terrific Hawk Girl, Ultraman, Metamorpho, and they're really getting the job done, whereas Superman is just saving, cats from trees until you realize why their methods don't work and his methods, you know. And I love all that. But if we're talking about some of the worst, bro, this year dealing with Snyder bots has been absolutely some of the worst bad faith discussions I've had all year. I'm trying to think of all this year, and I've had bad faith discussions about things like Captain Marvel and the Marvels, right? You remember that?
Right, yeah.
Every time a character gets casted and the actor is black, there's a ton of bad faith arguments about that. But bro, what have you been seeing online when it comes to these Snyder bots in reaction to anything regarding Superman? The behind the scenes photos, the trailers, the announcement that this film was going to take place. Talk a bit about it.
It's all for some reason like it's weird because like y'all should be the biggest fans of this, the biggest uplifters of this. But like, no, I've seen so much like critiques, not controversy, but yeah, critiques basically. Like, oh, he's not buff enough. The costume looks goofy. Like he's not tall enough. I'm like, Corn Sweat's like 3 inches tall. He's 6'4".
Right.
Cowboy's 6'1".
You've seen him in
What do you
front
mean
of
not tall?
have you seen him in front of Rachel Brosnan? Like he's fucking like
Dude,
towers
he's a
over her.
dinner giant.
Yeah.
So like it's just been weird. It's like they're still campaigning. Like I feel like it's like how Christopher Reeves was for a lot of people super like he was their Superman. And like a lot of people have Tobey Maguire as their Spider-Man. Like Henry Cavill was a lot of people's like Superman. Like these Snyder bots, like for some reason, has never matured out of that. Like it's
Well,
okay to have
it's two
other
things,
favorite
right?
Supermen.
It's two things, right? It's one, where there's a very a quote comes to mind, and I'm going to convert it so that we don't get kicked. But there's a very famous episode of Chappelle Show where he says something that I'm going to twist around to fit this, and I think we should have never gave those the Snyder cut. I think by acquiescing and giving them that, by caving and giving them that, we have set the standard now. That if you clang enough pans and if you make enough noise and you start enough fires, you'll get what you want. And I think that they think that, I mean, you got to see some of this stuff. Some of this stuff is like, they didn't get to finish their vision. Batman 2, Man of Steel 2, Justice League 3 and 4. I'm like, that was never, none of this stuff was ever on the docket. I remember the original docket. The original docket that had the Cyborg film. Remember? Stuff like that. Birds of Prey.
Crazy? There was I remember there was like an original thing. They had a roadmap because we're supposed to get Brainiac. Yep. Like Man of Steel 2 was supposed to happen. Batman was supposed to happen with Ben Affleck and Deathstroke.
Yep.
Like, and then they reshifted it, right? Because then it was like, we were supposed to get like Flash, Green Lantern, Cyborg, the Themyscira series, like, which is still in the pipework for James Gunn's thing. But they rushed it. They rushed it.
And the thing is, Sunrise, Sunset, that sucked. You understand? You're not going to ever see me, like, I don't think we're going to get the same reaction when, inevitably, we get a new Wolverine. I don't think we'll get the same sort of, like, I'm not watching this, compare this to this, compare this shot to this shot, how, real men look like this. Like, the stuff I'm seeing online is, like, very, like, if you're not about this, it is what it is. And the cold thing I will say this as someone who I feel is a bit learned now, and we've been doing this for as long as we have. Every week for the last 7-ish years, I've been talking about a comic book something in some way, shape, or form, right? So I feel like I'm a little bit educated in saying this. If Zack Snyder is the reason why you like Superman, I don't think you like. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think you need to like everybody. But it's one of those things where it's like, I didn't like Peter Parker until he pulled out those 2 katanas and started cutting people's heads off. It's like, well, I don't think that's not something he does. So if a writer made him do that and now you like him, now you think that's what he does. But that's not what he does. So when you see any other version of him, you're like, where are the katanas? Why is he let Gwen Stacy die? He should have just thrown a katana. He could have saved her or something like that. It's like, no, you've gotten the wrong message from a Elseworlds situation about this character. The Snyderverse, I felt way better about it when I considered it an Elseworld. I considered it like a person's interpretation of the DC universe. But at first, I rallied really hard against it because I was like, this is not the version of these characters that I know. A Batman that's branding criminals so that they get murdered in prison. Like, what are we doing? Like, what's going on here? So yeah, those guys are going to be very vocal, I think, until the Superman actual film drops. And
I think they're gonna be like when it. Oh, you say until it drops?
Yeah, until
because
it
like
drops.
the teaser trailer got more views than the Deadpool's teaser trailer.
It did.
Like, so
and maybe
I
some hate. Some people hate
I can
watching
easily
it.
track. Right. I can easily track that this movie's gonna make $1 billion. Like it's Superman. Who's not gonna see Superman? Like it's all ages, it's all inclusive. Like even if you hate Boy Scouts, you still are gonna see it just because it's Superman.
Yeah.
Like, the character is rich in mythos.
What I keep trying to tell people though is this is the teaser trailer. That's it. The teaser trailer.
Right? No dialogue was said in this trailer except for Crypto Take Me Home.
That is a perfect example of a difference between a teaser trailer and a regular trailer. A teaser trailer sets up the plot of the film. We got no plot right now. There's a bunch of clips and images that you could kind of, as a comic book reader or Superman fan, you can connect some dots, but you didn't get
what's happening?
The kaiju landed 3 hours ago, and we need to stop it before yada yada. There's no conflict yet,
right?
Or at least no apparent
conflict. That teaser had a lot of different shots of a lot of different things going on. Like I've tried to look up this plot. They haven't released anything. They're not releasing anything until like the trailer drops, and then they release the synopsis.
What's also very interesting is I don't even suspect this to have a banging villain because there's a lot of first movies that don't necessarily have A-list villains that get them across. People weren't really clamoring for Ironmonger. You know what I'm saying? Right. But most people didn't know who Killmonger was until they showed him in Black Panther. So it's like it's not so much about the A-list nature of the villain, more so than the story that the hero goes on, and then you can make any villain A-list at that point. So I'm really interested in seeing where things go there. And another thing that dropped this year that made me excited about this universe is Creature Commandos. We're 4 episodes in Creature Commandos, and I'm digging what's going on here. I went back and watched The Suicide Squad this weekend and was like, how could anyone have doubts about what this man is meaning to do in this universe? Like, I never stopped. I've seen this film before, and I'm still laughing at certain parts. There's still certain parts with so much heart and love and redemption and all that stuff. That final shot of Bloodsport with the rat on his lap when he can't stand rats, hates rats, and is finally petting Sebastian. Like full circle moment kind of stuff. Amazing. Absolutely amazing stuff. Ratcatcher, all that. But to go back to Creature Commandos, like they just did the Weasel episode.
James Gunn making a spiel for trees, raccoons, and weasels.
Yeah.
I felt for this character. We literally watched the Suicide Squad, I did. Like a few nights ago, just because of like the continuity of it all. It just made me feel for this character. Like, wow. He's not just some random dumbass creature. This thing actually has emotions and wants and shit. And they tried to save people. And it was just treated as a monster. Like, what?
And Creature Commandos and the Suicide Squad click in a way that I don't know of an animated show and a live action thing click. Like, you can just watch it from there and you know who everybody is. The voices are still the same. Amanda Waller is drawn exactly the same. There's no loss there. The mentioning of Corto Maltese and stuff like that. Really, really exciting stuff. To see that episode and then to go back and be like, oh, that's Weasel. He's harmless. Well, he's not harmless. He killed 27 children. Well, I just saw what really happened.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Really, really fun stuff. So yeah, you got it again. Art, humor, blood. So much. The Nazi, the GI Robot episode.
I love GI Robot. Are
Uh,
these the Nazis that
have
we're looking for,
have
sir?
we checked the entire room? Why? Just to see if there's any Nazis. I'm like, what is going on? So again, like with all that stuff, how could you? I don't know. Maybe I sound hyperbolic, but it's like I really don't understand how you could see all that and think that he would drop the ball on something as monumental as Superman. That's not an easy feat.
Right.
I know even him who has had very well received films has to be nervous to nail this. And I don't know, and again, I don't mean to be hyperbolic, like this has never happened before, but I can't remember in recent history a director that has been this picked at and prodded and poked over the production of a single film and has answered and argued and reputed multiple
Right?
rumors and like at every step. Hey, they're gonna use this. No, we're not. Hey, they're gonna dress him. No, we're not.
Or
Hey, they
not.
casted it. They casted this person as. No, we didn't. That was never a thing. That was never a thing. We never said that. And he's been doing this for a year now. You know? So it's like leave the man alone. It's Christmas Day today if you're watching this live. Go out and check out the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Christmas special and tell me there's no heart in that. And tell me you don't walk away feeling
Man.
warm in your stomach and smiling. This guy knows art, and I'm really excited to see what that Superman stuff is gonna. And in the meantime, if I'm
Right.
looking for a wholesome dose of Superman, in the midst of losing my Arrowverse Superman and waiting for this James Gunn Superman, we have My Adventures with Superman, which has also been
Woo.
an absolute joy. So wholesome, such a different take on that character, and I guess that's what it really is. My initial
Hmm.
anger towards the Snyderverse when it first came out was because I could not conceive of a world with so many different interpretations of the character. Because I was very new to the idea of the multiverse and very new to the idea of these sprawling different kinds of and versions. But if I can exist with the live action version in the Arrowverse, the animated version in My Adventures, and wait on this cinematic version from James Gunn, y'all can relax. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not that big of a deal. You know, as a matter of fact, you haven't seen your Superman in a Superman film in over 10 years.
Damn.
The idea to hold on to that is bonkers at this point. What are we doing here? We're here to move forward. All right, we're here to get there. And My Adventures with Superman, I think, is a perfect take on that. Like, I love the Superman animated series from back in the day that was on WB, but
Man.
there's something about, and obviously, better and smarter men have connected this. I think that's the reason why Shonen Jump animes are huge. But there's something about marrying Superman in anime that just works. There's something about
It works.
powering. There's something about pairing powers in anime, whether they be super speed, super strength, showing the dynamics of the physics of these powers. I think is best done in the medium of anime, and like I'm watching My Adventure with Superman. It's just like, why didn't we do this a long time ago? And I was like, yeah, we did do it a long time ago. It's called Dragon Ball Z, where the guy from another planet got sent down in a rocket and ended up being one of the greatest forces of mankind, alongside of his friends. So loved My Adventures with Superman, and then we were lucky enough to get the Cape Crusader, which was almost a
Also
darker,
great.
also dark and a return to form, very similar to X-Men '97. I would say I liked X-Men '97 a little bit more, but I think that Cape Crusader is the like and season one is going to be the Batman Begins of that universe. I think it'll just set up a lot of groundwork, and season two is going to be banger, absolutely. Uh,
Yeah,
even when
man.
I name a lot of my favorite episodes of Batman the Animated Series, there's only a handful in that first season because even they were finding their footing, trying to figure out what the
Mhm.
show was. And I think once Cape Crusader does that, we will be good. You look at things like a Batman the Animated Series revival, you're like, maybe that would work, or an X-Men '97 revival, you're like, maybe that would work. And then you hear ideas like a Joker musical, and you know that it's not going to work. And you
Oh
go
my goodness.
and you watch the film, and I would say, and again, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. I'm not trying to exaggerate. I think Joker 2 was probably my worst theater experience of the year. Um, just watching it and shaking my head and going, "What is going on? How much longer is this? How what is there left to do?" And then when it ended, going, what did that say? I don't know what this film is trying to say to me.
Like my fiance loved it, but she's also a massive Lady Gaga fan.
I could see that. I
So
could see that. And again, this is not even to disparage anybody who dug it, but what I was going in for was clearly not what they were trying to give me. And
yeah,
I
same.
I
Like,
felt like
Madam Web and Joker 2 were just like, y'all, great premise, just the execution was poor. And plus I feel like the director sat out to piss off the fan base with the Joker 2.
what what's also weird is that I keep feeling like I'm being gaslit because everyone keeps saying things like, "Oh, you thought you were going in the film to see this," and I'm like, "Yeah, that was what was on the poster." Like, yeah, oh, you thought you were gonna go see the Joker, but what you didn't understand was Arthur Fleck's not the Joker. And so why did you call it the Joker? Why did you call it two movies the Joker and have Arthur Fleck in it if the whole movie was about one dude at the end in the last 2 minutes? I feel like I'm being gaslit. Like, oh, you thought you were gonna see Joker in a Joker sequel? Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
That's what I yes. You know, you thought this movie was gonna be like the last one. That's what a sequel's supposed to be. That's why it's to say, did you like that? Here's more of it. And I never felt it felt so weird to almost be scolded by the film, by the director, and like you shouldn't have liked that last one. That one was problematic, and now you need to learn a lesson. So we're gonna take off all your clothes, assault you in this bathroom. And I'm like, what? Where did we turn
Wow.
here? Where? Can I go back? Can we go back? You understand? Like,
I should have
so
sent it as a standalone.
bro, so strange, absolutely so strange. I still don't understand what it is. Do you believe what people say that in years time people will reappraise it and it will end up being a classic?
If we just strictly look at it as a musical, like Wicked blew me the fuck away. Like, oh my god, I'm
That's what I
sorry.
mean.
I need to detract
No,
from
you're good.
Joker
You're good.
2. Actually, talk about a good musical movie.
You are good.
Wicked was the absolute shit. I am so upset with myself that I slept on this franchise, this property, this play, this theater experience. Like I got chills watching that movie, Sway.
That's
Like I
awesome.
got chills. I almost cried.
Oh,
Like it was such a great movie. No. And for the people saying, "Oh, they hired a woke actors, lesbian," no, there's none of that. It's sisterhood, understanding oneself, finding oneself, like finding your groove. Like it's so much. And plus, they just expanded on the Wizard of Oz, and I'm a sucker for lore. Like the Wicked Witch of the West. Her name is Alphaba. Alphaba.
yeah,
She has a name. She's not just a villain. And her story, her origin, just amazing because no villain is ever born. Great villains are created,
yeah.
and that makes sense. Like why I love the character so much. In Defying Gravity, Chef's Kiss. It
So
was pure cinema.
to use that, I think that review is a perfect example of what I'm trying to say. Very often, I come here and I will watch something like Joker 2 and I would leave. And my immediate thought is something like my body rejects the film, right? And then I say, well, I've seen so many films and there's so many people in this world. Maybe I'm just not getting something. And I take the film as is and I turn it a little bit and try to look at it at a different angle. And then I turn it upside down and try to look at it at a different angle. And I make excuses and I have 18 million things to say before I say my opinion so that it doesn't cloud anybody else's. And then I go and I see something amazing and I have no words. It just is good. I don't have to create a narrative to explain why. It's just good. And so I feel like when something is bad, sometimes it's just bad. I can say put 500 other words behind what I'm saying, but I did not dig it. And then you watch something and it's so unapologetically good that you just don't have anything else left to say, and it's unarguable. No matter what people are saying as far as woke directors, that's what, et cetera, and so forth about Wicked, it ain't gonna stop it from making money. If it's good, it's
Right?
good. It will just be good and do well. That's what this stuff does. And yeah, you just saw a villain origin story. So you just saw a sympathetic take on a villain. So it can be done. So what the was Joker 2? You just saw a
Exactly.
musical about a
Exactly.
villain. You know, that's exactly it's the same thing. You know, and 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 it never got there. Um, there could have been a world in which the Glinda role could have been played by a Harley Quinn, where like trying to almost like get Arthur to be a villain for her sake, to have someone to demonize, to have someone to point to and say, "This guy's like this, we need to stop," etc. and so forth. But like she could have been using him. Like remember the OG? I think it was like in the Batman. Harley was only trying to interview Joker to like cash out on like a book or like
Mhm.
fame or something, you know? So it would have been really funny to see this doctor play super nice on camera and then, in the background be like, yeah, maybe you should stab your inmate, your roommate. Maybe you should put the blood on your face and walk around like a clown, like and sort of get there. It's 100% possible they just didn't want to do it. And that's really, really frustrating because similarly, we got the Penguin. And the Penguin was it was Chef's Kiss. It felt like HBO just missed making The Sopranos, so it just made
Right.
it just made a Sopranos in the Batman universe. Um, but really, really, really good stuff. And my favorite part about the Penguin is that they kept him a piece of trash throughout the whole thing. There's never a
The
moment where you're
whole
like,
thing.
even though we do believe what you just said that the best villains are created, this one doesn't give him any excuses. This one doesn't say anything about like, oh, well, I mean, if you had a family like that, or if you had a dad like that, or if you had no guidance, or grew up around drugs, or grew up poor, and it's like, no, no, he was just a piece of trash. He was a piece of trash kid, and he became a piece of trash man. Um, but yeah, talk about the Penguin being one of the highlights of this year.
Man, like you said, Sopranos, but in the DC universe. And you know what's crazy? Like I saw some mixed reviews about it,
Ooh,
all good, and some like this Sopranos is better. This is like Sopranos light. Like people were just comparing it to other mafia, true crime, like or not true crime, but like crime drama driven shows. And I was looking at it through that lens. And I'm like, huh, okay, in that regard, I see where y'all coming from, but this is still based off a comic book character, and we're seeing the how he becomes the Penguin. Like he's not the Penguin yet. Like he still
yeah.
has a lot of things to go through to become the Penguin. He still doesn't have the ice lounge. Like
I,
like give it time.
You know what else? I would say that just like Madam Web, my arms were crossed for the Penguin. I would love to go back and kind of check out what I said in our predictions for it. But I remember thinking, especially the promotional stuff that was coming out of it. Bro, if your eyes could get stuck by rolling them into the back of your head, I would look like The Undertaker because of all of the well, we call him Oz. We don't call him Oswald because in my universe, he'll never wear the top hat. I was like, then what are we doing? Then what are we doing? It's same thing, and it didn't help because it was happening at the same time the Joker stuff was happening, where they were like,
Right.
he'll never actually be the clown prince of crime because in my film, which is much more real. We're just delving in different themes, and that's a little bit too comic booky. And it's like you're doing a comic. Stop fat shaming your girl's fat. Kind of, what are you doing here? You know what I'm saying? Like, stop pretending you don't love this shit. But um, with my arms crossed, they still managed again because of my acknowledgement and appreciation for Elseworlds. That is a badass Elseworlds take on the Penguin. Do I want that to be the main
It
line
is.
route? Maybe not. But for a what if? Oh yeah, oh yeah, for a what if. Really, really good
You
stuff.
know, Penguin definitely hit. It was a show like just from Rob Pattinson's Batman universe, I wasn't looking for, but I'm glad I appreciate that I got it because like now I want more of it of this universe, this dark, gritty underbelly of Gotham that got fucked by Riddler's flood and the bombings. Like, yo, there's so much storytelling ground here to like cover and just tell.
Yeah.
Give us more of this. And I heard they are making like a Hush. They're bringing Hush into the universe. Like,
That's what I
oh my
was.
god.
That's what I was hearing. And another thing, greenlit for, I don't know about this universe, but DC in general is a Clayface horror film. I think
Yep,
that's
I
gonna
heard
kill the
that.
game. I think you can do some really, really inventive stuff with that character. They killed it in the animated series when they were really rocking with the transformations and stuff like that. I think they did the character recently in Cape Crusader, a bit of a tragic
Mhm.
backstory and stuff like that, dealing with Hollywood and all that. So yeah, there's a lot of different avenues that they can go, especially with these villains. And what I love the most about it is, even if you don't watch it, if you watch the Batman 2, or you need someone offline to be like, oh yeah, remember when Carmine Falcone died? The Penguin took over. That's it. You have to mention that also Carmine's daughter came back and he took care of her, and they had a war for a couple weeks, were killing each other's people until he eventually got him arrested and sent back to prison. No, you don't need to know any of that. Carmine was
Yeah.
killed and the Penguin took over. That's it. That's what happened over the whole series of that. We just are very locked in because we got to live with that man for a season.
Yeah.
But on the outside looking in, that's all it is. The Penguin has taken over in the power vacuum, so you don't need much to understand what's going on. And even though I am familiar with the material, I needed a roadmap to understand what was going on with the DC animated trilogy, Crisis on Infinite Earths. I'm just taking a second just to rip this because, man.
Go ahead, Dave, because like I watched all three twice, and I was still like, what is going on? Like I know what's going on just because of the comics, but like this is not connected for real. Like what is the real issue here? Like, well, this is supposed to be a banger. What happened? Y'all supposed to kill it animated style.
long
What happened?
long time comic readers can appreciate but also acknowledge that Crisis on Infinite Earths is one of the most convoluted DC comic stories in the history of the world. I say this as somebody who's read it. It's 12 issues. It is a mammoth of a story. It deals with things being in and out of reality, out of phasing in and out of time. Antimatter towers that pull the matter, and reverse the polarity of. It's very confusing. It's as is
Flash
as a
dying and
comic.
coming back.
Yeah, as is as a comic, it is very confusing, but it was a means to an end. They did that to close the multiverse. They thought the multiverse was getting too crazy, and they wanted to shut it down. So they needed an event that would clear the table, that would etch a sketch their universe, and the etch a sketch is the Anti Monitor, and it was a means to an end. What does that mean when you just decide out of nowhere to pull that book off the shelves and say we're adapting this now? Not because we need to erase everything, but because, or maybe it is because I believe now moving forward, all of the animated stuff is going to be under the James Gunn umbrella, and all those characters
Right.
played under live action will also, played under on animation will eventually be adapted into live action.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that because like that makes sense why why they waited so long to make Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah.
But when you watch it, it makes sense because you see all the different realities, all the different characters from past animated shows, and now Creature Commandos coming out. Okay, it makes sense. They're setting up for their brand new universe that will be the main streamline universe.
I still think
Cool.
an incredible failing though, right? An incredible failing though of to adapt this story. I think that I don't think the voice acting was incredibly great. I don't know why we spent half an episode on the Nazi psycho pirate stuff that was going on
Right.
there.
What was the point of that?
The Anti Monitor didn't look like the Anti Monitor. He just looked like a big monster of some sort. It was a very strange retelling of that story, a very bad one, and one that will scare people off of watching DC stuff because of how convoluted and how poorly managed I think this adaptation. But that is the last worst thing I have on my list. And the last best thing that I would want to talk about is the Absolute Universe. The Absolute Universe coming out of things like Absolute Power that just took place in the DC universe, and it is a brand new coat of paint on some of DC's oldest characters, and I have been incredibly excited. I now own Absolute Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman #1. Holding on to those things.
Nice.
I'm holding on to those things like nobody's business. But
I've heard nothing but great things about the Absolute Universe. I can't wait to start reading. I read a little bit of the Batman,
yeah,
but I'm like, I want to finish. I want to sit down. Me because my fiance is a massive Superman fan. Like she has literally like 5 different Superman logos on her arm. She's gonna make a whole sleeve of Superman logos for all different eras on all different versions of them.
interesting.
It's pretty dope. but like I want to sit down and like with her just read through Absolute Superman without having to wait.
What's funny is I think that it is perceived that the Trinity in DC Comics is not relatable because they are elite. Like Superman is the best of us, Wonder Woman is the best of us, Batman is the best of humanity, right? Like it's like the strongest, smartest, whatever. And so this rebrand sets to like dirty them up a little bit. And so, like, you would, not you, but people would criticize Batman because they say, of all the things about the character, the one thing that people don't like or the one thing that people don't want to really see is him be a billionaire. You know, it's like him just walking around in board meetings and being a billionaire. If people are absolutely fine reading a Batman comic where he is never at a boardroom or they never mention Wayne Enterprises. So,
Okay.
what does this do? In absolute Batman, he is not born to rich people. He is a middle class, maybe even lower than that. And his father passes away. His mother's still alive, and he ends up taking a series of odd jobs around Gotham so as to learn its infrastructure. So he takes a job in construction to learn about the tunnels, and he takes a job in electricity to learn about the grid. And so all of his, what people perceive as crazy amount of planning with Batman now has a background. He has in all these years learning his city. You know, a man gets brought in to kind of stop. There's a gang that's murdering people in Gotham, led by Black Mask, and they're called the
Mhm.
Party Animals. They wear animal masks, and a man is sent to Gotham to do some surveillance on them to find out how they can be stopped by a shadow organization, and that man is Alfred. And Alfred witnesses Batman take them all down, and it's like, who is this guy? And so the story is not told from Batman's perspective of like I woke up this morning and whatever. It's told from Alfred's perspective. So he's like comes in like a shadow. He, expertise and this, that, and third, and he doesn't care who's afraid of him. So he's like almost building him up more as like a myth, you know. But my favorite thing from the Absolute Batman universe is established very early on as he's training in a local gym that he's training at Killer Croc's gym. The gym made by a guy named Waylon Jones. He's not a Croc man. He's actually just has an
Ah,
affinity for reptiles or whatever. And he's like, "Oh, Bruce, you haven't come to the poker game. Everyone misses you. Eddie and Oz and Selena,
wow,
and
wow.
and so you realize that Bruce is a street kid, and Bruce's best friends growing up were Edward Nigma, Nina Kyle, Waylon Jennings, or Waylon
That's
Jones.
crazy.
And these guys will grow up to be his road. He's not a faceless billionaire beating up other strange mentally ill people in the street. He will be stopping his friends when they eventually turn bad, when things eventually get bad. And they're his best friends from childhood. There's a picture of them all as kids. And I just like that eventual setup and
That,
knockdown. Come on. Chef's kiss.
that's right. That's great storytelling.
It's
I like
amazing.
that.
It's amazing. Um, Wonder Woman, again, super elitist, right? Like literally made from clay from God itself and and birthed onto the world. In this, she is the Greek gods are punishing the Amazons, and they steal baby Diana and they send her to hell. And Amazon is a
Um,
word that you cannot say, not allowed in the universe. They don't. It's a dirty word. And so, Cersei, who is making a lot of prominence in Creature Commandos, the witch, is tasked with raising her. And so he raises this little girl in hell, and she is now a badass, tatted warrior that commands the skeleton of Pegasus, not a Pegasus, the Pegasus is what she rides,
wow.
a skeletal version of him. And again, like all these badass red tats and markings, this warrior woman, who was raised in hell and has to be the best of what that can be. Like from that raising point, being raised in hell, how do we better ourselves? How can we be better? And so boom, you have her right there. I think that that's absolutely tremendous. And then you finish it up with Absolute Superman, who doesn't land in small town Kansas. He lands in Brazil. His parents weren't like high status. They were farmers. They're the Kents of Krypton. And on Krypton, everything is so elitist that you wear your class on your chest. And in Absolute Superman, that S class is the working class. So he's literally walking around a man of the people. Like he's literally like by having that, keeping that crest on, his family, his parents called that the symbol of the people of steel, people who made Krypton, people who, the blood, sweat, and tears of the working class that are unbreakable.
Wow.
So again, like I'm sitting there like, yo, this is amazing. This is great stuff. And his suit is sentient. His suit is
Dope.
his suit is called Soul, and it's sentient, so it's always kind of
Dope.
like moving. And there's a lot of like Iron Man, like power at 20%. Like, oh damn, what are we gonna do now, kind of stuff. And there is a big corporation called the Lazarus Corps that has agents that are peacekeepers, and so, oh, not peacekeepers, peacemakers. A, an
Oh.
army of people of peacemakers are who comes and stops you in case anything comes down with this whole Lazarus Corps kind of stuff. So like they have like these mines in Brazil, and the people are being punished because every night for some reason when they come back, all the mining's already been done. And so all their bosses are like, "What keeps happening?" And it's because Superman keeps going and doing all the work while everyone's asleep, so that no one has to toil, that no one has to struggle or anything like that. And so
Oh my God.
you literally having him working from the ground up, from the bottom up, and they're still fleshing out all three of these characters. But what a unique starting point for them, for characters that have existed again 80 plus years. We're talking about this brand new coat of paint. Dare I say, and again, I said a lot of crazy things on this podcast in general, but dare I say they are writing the roadmap for a entire new generation of these characters, because I think, and controversial statement, the longer we go, the less the Silver Age origins work. I feel like,
Mm.
and I feel like if we are losing the ability to relate to these characters because we are now so far removed from a world that looked like that world they came from, and things need to change. They need to reflect our world. They can't stop doing that. And I feel like we lost the plot a little bit, right? Because it became more about portraying the character than portraying the world that they exist in. And so,
Right.
similar to the Ultimate Universe, I wouldn't be surprised if some of those Ultimate Universe things are like, if any of this works, this is now who Spider-Man will be. We will now always start Spider-Man as an adult man who was told by, an evil villain that, no, you had a destiny. And, or, told by somebody else, you had a destiny. And if you want to open this circle orb and unlock it, and what does that mean for you and your family and all that kind of stuff. So in a world where you have these characters that have existed, like I said, 60 plus years, 80 plus years, and we're putting a new can of paint on them, it's done nothing but motivate us here at Comic Book Click, right? We have now, you want to talk about the best and worst, one of the best things to happen to us this year was teaming up with Dirt Sheet Radio, the guys over there who are, industry leaders in pop culture and professional wrestling, expanding our reach in those environments, getting our numbers from 19,000 earlier this year to 41,000 as of this recording. Bro, doing our major preview streams now, finding a way to come up with clips for the Major Issues podcast. There's I wish I could tell you about even the things we were talking about behind the scenes. But A-Rob, you know that we are conducting interviews. We are trying to best fit this team that I think is kind of done with this introductory period of Comic Book Click, and we're ready to put our ground on some new, put our feet on some new ground that we're ready to cover for the next year. One of the
Buddy.
one of the best things about this year was watching all of our team grow, our content grow. Major Issues didn't do Major Issue lives in 2023. That wasn't a thing. We didn't have this you're looking at this video, we didn't have this cool little box and stuff. This is all little things that we created because of the strength of our fan base. They embolden us with enough courage to take chances. And some things work and some things don't. But that's one thing that we will always do for you guys is take chances. I believe that Comic Book Click is the best product out there. Should it be crushed? Should it be boiled? Should it be ingested raw? I don't know, but I'm trying to come up with the best method to put our product out there on the streets, because I do think if you take just a test run of it, you'll be hooked forever. But I'm a little bit biased. I'm a little bit biased when it comes to things like that. But been a hell of a year. There's so much more to talk about. But I'm excited for our next episode, because it's the episode where I get the chance to be the wrongest I can all year, which will be our predictions for 2025. Like I said, bro, we're in a world where we are dropping Superman and Fantastic Four, two of the oldest and most misunderstood. I would say misunderstood, bro. I'm going to the length of saying that Fantastic Four has still never truly been, like, we've settled for what the best can be, but I don't think we've gotten nothing close to what emotions you've ever felt and some of the best Fantastic Four stories you've ever read. I don't think we've seen yet.
I mean, Jonathan Hickman's killed it with him before.
That's what I'm saying. And Franklin Richards is supposed to be in First Steps.
Right? Oh my God, they're setting up so. But
I mean, babies, First Steps. I mean, it's all one small step for man, one giant leap for Franklin Richards.
Oh Jesus, to me,
yeah,
my Galactus.
No, that's how it's going to end, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's about to be over. He's bringing them to the Secret War. You know what I'm saying? Bring a world eater to a Secret War. I'm totally down for that.
Oh my God, Secret Wars is going. Doomsday and Secret Wars are going to be crazy. Like Infinity War is still my favorite movie, like comic movie to date, but like Secret Wars might beat it, and I'm afraid. I'm afraid for these characters. I'm afraid for them. But I'm excited for 2025.
Bro,
you know, Brave New World, Thunderbolts, Daredevil. Oh my God, and Daredevil's gonna be stacked.
Captain
Like, America, so many characters.
In less than 2 months, Captain America, the Red Hulk, will be seeing my friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, the newest animated show for Spider-Man in general. Like, I'm super excited. I'm super stoked. If we missed anything to cover for this year, write it in the comments. You could always email us at comicbookclique.com. You can always go to comicbookclique.com and just write in the comments there. But always, comicbookclique@gmail.com is another quick way for you guys to reach us. In a world where good and bad things happen, I think us, as part of Comic Book Clique, will always lean towards the good. We got out of here scratch free. Well, no, maybe not scratch free, but we got out of here alive. We're breathing, which means that
we have any lawsuits. So
no lawsuits. Tomorrow will always serve as another chance to have the happiest life we ever can. Sometimes we may fall short, but every day we can get a little bit closer. And with Comic Book Clique, being with you guys every step of the way, we're hoping to make the comic book space a better place every single day. With content like this, with emotion like this, with energy like this, and with fans like you guys who make this not only incredibly fun for us, but I've seen the rap numbers. We're a worldwide podcast now. We are an official business. We are acting as an official business as of this year. We have a tremendous influx of new talent behind the scenes as of this year, and new editors, video editors, new people helping out with admin and scheduling. It's a really exciting time. But to find out what happens to us next, you have to pay attention to everything Comic Book Clique. That's going to comicbookclique.com and checking out everything that happens over there, which is every single episode of the Major Issues podcast. We have articles written there, reviews. I did a review on Absolute Batman #1. You can go ahead and check out. We'll be pumping out more written reviews as we go along. We're going to start trying to produce more video series as we go along, but we are currently producing the Major Previews video series where we go through comic book solicitations and pick out some issues that we think are going to be important issues for the future. That series got me onto all kinds of different series that I now love, and picking out some of those things, it almost feels like we're in Vegas, fantasy football, picking out our favorite books, and then to find out that they're actually pretty good, helps the confidence a little bit. I pat my ego on the back a little bit with stuff like that. But yeah, man, we are always constantly looking for new ways to give you guys new content. We're always brimming with excitement to talk about things. Marvel Rivals is out. Maybe we get to some playing on that,
Yeah,
bro. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we get on that, get on these headphones, stream some of that on Twitch. Um,
that's so sweaty.
yes, it's been a really, really, really exciting year. It's been a really, really fun year. And I couldn't have done it not only with all those people who have come here and support us, but I couldn't have done it without you, A Rob. So thank you for being a part of this
Oh,
episode as we put a button on all things 2024, and next week look towards 2025. Yeah, Major Issues Podcast is available wherever podcasts are found: Podbean, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, Apple Podcasts, App, TuneFind, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Just Google Major Issues Podcast, and we're the first ones to pop up. Very proud of that. But if you don't want to go onto any external site or app to check out the podcast, consider going to ComicBookClique.com, which has every episode of the Major Issues Podcast. That's 362, counting this one, which averages out to about 720 hours of content. So yeah, man, yeah, it's getting crazy. And some of those episodes are even 3-hour episodes. So consider that. That's why I say it's an average. But we do all this as a labor of love. Again, Major Issues every week drops on audio form on Thursday. I think most videos we're gonna try to lean in on Tuesday. I think moving forward, Tuesday, Wednesday is usually when we'll shoot Major Issues live on Facebook, and then the audio version will come out every Thursday. Major Previews comes out every month. We're on Facebook.com/ComicBookClique, Instagram at ComicBookClique, and we use the hashtag ComicBookClique. Excuse me, to talk about the hottest, latest, and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. Like I said, join us all over social media: Facebook.com, Major Issue CBC on Twitter, Major Issue CBC on Twitch, because that's where the announcements will come out, the new content that we're hoping to do, and new announcements when content drops. So just follow us on social media. Consider becoming a Patreon at patreon.com/CBC Clubhouse for as little as 10 cents a day, $3 a month. You can help us keep our lights on here and afford the hardware and the software we need. Keep giving you guys this content free of charge. Some people ask, like, where does the money go? Sometimes it's for the website hosting. Sometimes it's for the Zoom fee for every month. And sometimes it's so I can buy a sandwich, so I don't have to make dinner, and I could spend that time watching a terrible comic book movie and taking notes the entire time. So any way that you guys could help us get this content out to you guys free of charge. We're not asking for your life savings. We're asking for the quarters that fell into the couch. You understand? And it could help us go so far here. Your energy and your enthusiasm got us this far. We might need a little bit of monetization to get us further, but we are hoping to produce some of the best content. So I'm unapologetically good that you just feel compelled to help and support us. We have a hell of a year coming up, and you guys don't want to miss it. This is the Babe Ruth rookie card of podcasts and of content. If you do not hold on to this now, you're going to be very, very sorry when the bandwagon becomes so full that we cannot hear you in the back, sir or madam. Could have been up front with us from the beginning. So join us next week as we look into the future. Join us every month with Major Previews as we look into the solicitation, and join us every day on social media as we talk about the latest and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. Because I've been to the future where we do become the latest and greatest things to come to comic book and comic book media, but I can't tell you how we do it. Next thing you know, Dwayne the Rock Johnson wants his own comic book series where he beats up all of his actor friends on every page, which is going to cause a hell of a protest, and nobody wants that. So help us set this timeline right. Help us get to the heights that I know that we will get. Super excited for this year coming up, but super grateful for the year that we've had so far. And I guess there's nothing left for me to say, but my name is George Serrano, aka The Don.
and I'm A-Rob the Marvel God.
And this has been our year in review, the best and worst of 2024. And remember, whether this was a very tumultuous, challenging, and rough year for you, or one of the best years that you have ever had, full of promise and excitement, understand, good, bad, or indifferent, you're with us. You are with the click, so that it always gets better. There's always more to do. There's always more places to go, and we are not leaving anytime soon. So make sure that you stay with us. Remember to stay with the click, and always remember that you Yes, you are worthy. And if you're watching live, Merry Christmas. Thanks,
Hey, Merry
thanks,
Christmas.
guys.